Hey YouTube, how you doing? This is going to be a video about tribute albums. We got a lot to go through, a lot of ground to cover, so let's get started. While I am talking, I chose an album because it's kind of subtle, it's kind of slow, it's kind of brooding and atmospheric. This is Alrakis with Alpha Airy. Think of maybe like Dark Space, only really slow, brooding, atmospheric stuff. I really hope these guys do another record because this album is fucking phenomenal. Okay, so the reason I did this, put this together and wanted to do a video about this is because I got in a tribute album the other day, and it got me thinking. I got in another tribute album, a tribute to Bethlehem a couple of weeks ago, and it kind of reminded me, you know what? Like, tribute albums are something that don't really happen all that often anymore, or maybe just I'm not aware of it, or I just haven't been getting them. You know, there was that Summoning tribute a couple of weeks ago, and it just kind of helped me remember. It's like, wow, tribute albums sometimes can be really fucking kick-ass. So I thought I would go through some of my favorite tribute albums, the ones that I have. I thought I would talk a little bit about the ones that I don't have that are worth getting. I just haven't really gotten around to it. Like I said, it's not really the kind of thing that I often think of buying. It's not the kind of thing I think that you hear about very often. And maybe labels just aren't doing it anymore. I don't know. I can see the pros and cons of both sides of it, but whatever. I have a couple of them. Sometimes they're awesome, sometimes they're stupid. And we'll just talk about them. So the one... I'll just go through alphabetically, I suppose. So this is going to be the tribute albums that I have and that I like, more or less. So this one, I highly recommend getting this. It's not technically a tribute album, but one of the bands that I feel like is always the star on a tribute album is Angel Corpse. There's the Morbid Angel tribute. They've got, I think, 2 tracks on 2 different versions of that one. There's the tribute to Possessed. There's Judas Priest. Anyway, they have tracks peppered along several different tributes that I don't have copies of. I may have 1 or 2 of them, but all of their covers are on this LP. This is Iron Blood and Blasphemy. I want to say Osmos reissued this after the original release of this. This came out, and I want to say... I got a comment the other day from somebody who said that I always say, or you can have a drinking game every time I say, I want to say. So now I'm like self-conscious about it. It's hilarious to hear what your tendencies are that you don't realize you have. But anyways, I don't know. I'm going to guess this is like 2001 or something. But this is really fucking cool. So it's got Desecration of Virgin by Sarcophago, Demon Seed by Morbid Angel, Kill Again. I'm here. Kill Again is Slayer. Eat Me Alive by Judas Priest. It's so fucking good. There's just nothing like Angel Corpse doing a fucking cover of a band. Anyway, then there's Burning in Hell, Possessed, Pleasure to Kill, Creator, and Genghis Khan by Iron Maiden. Angel Corpse covering fucking Iron Maiden and the Judas Priest cover. All of them are so fucking good. Anyway, so this is like a couple of rarities, a couple of live tracks, and then a couple of songs from their demo compiled all in one release. Really fucking cool. Happy to have that. So, not technically a tribute album, but worth picking up. Nobody covers a fucking song like Angel Corpse. Angel Corpse just fucking slays through and through as far as I'm concerned. But so this is one of the oldest tribute albums that I have, and I probably heard Bathory before I heard this, but this really was my first experience with the music of Bathory. And it definitely made me curious enough to check out more of their stuff, and their albums, of course, are amazing. So this fucking lineup on this tribute is fucking stellar. Hellspawn Records put this out in 1990. Why don't they put years on shit anymore? I'm gonna guess this is like 99 or 2000 or something. And Hellspawn was a short-lived record label by David Parland of Dark Funeral. But check out the lineup on this fucking thing. Marduk doing In Conspiracy with Satan. Ophthalmia doing Sacrifice. Gehenna, Dark Funeral. Emperor, A Fine Day to Die. Lord Belial, The Abyss, which nobody talks about The Abyss, they're fucking great. Marduk, Niflheim, Necrophobic, Dark Funeral, Sacramentum, Unanimated, Satyricon doing Born for Burning is really good, and War. Killer fucking tribute on Hellspawn Records. I'm not sure if this is a rarity or not. I don't imagine it was ever reissued because it's on No Fashion. It looks like House of Kicks, No Fashion, and Hellspawn put this out, but this is fucking good. Really fucking good. I was gonna see. This also kind of set the precedent, I feel, for the way a tribute album should go. It's got a few words about Bathory from David Parlin, and then each band has a page to their own. Band photos, logo, a little bit of a lineup, a little bit of info from there. And I just really like that kind of detail in a tribute album when there's something to go through, notes from the bands about Bathory and stuff like that. But yeah, you really can't have enough covers of Bathory. So if somebody wanted to reissue that or even do another tribute to Bathory, I think that'd be a great idea. Next, I've got a tribute to Black Sabbath. Excuse me. Earache put this out, and this is all Earache bands. This came out in 1992 originally. So, you know, the Earache era in 92 was pretty good. We've got Cathedral covering Wheels of Confusion, Sleep doing Snowblind, Godflesh, Zero the Hero, Confessor, Hole in the Sky, Anal Cunt doing Kill Yourself to Live. We got Fudge Tunnel, Old, Brutal Truth, Ultraviolence, Pitch Shifter, Scorn, Iron Monkey, and Cathedral. I don't listen to this very often, but that lineup is pretty killer. Now this is what I got in just yesterday, and I don't know, I guess I've had a download of this for the longest time, thought it was amazing, but just never really got around to buying it, decided this is the fucking time to buy it. This is a tribute to Carcass. This fucking slays, and I can't believe everybody doesn't own this. This thing is one of the greatest tributes that I've ever heard, and I don't know why I took so long to get around to buying this, but listen to this. Think of all the bands that you think Carcass have influenced, and then think of the best 18, maybe 17 bands of that pile. They're pretty much all on here. We've got Regurgitate, Rotten Sound, Hemorrhage, Nasm, Cattle Decapitation, Exhumed, Disgorge, Machitazo, General Surgery, Necroni, Impaled, Pig Destroyer, Vulgar Pigeons, Bodies Lay Broken, Engorged, Dead Infection, Avulsed, and once again, Regurgitate doing 2 covers on here. So many killer versions of killer songs. It's kind of cool to hear the songs played. This is really well produced. A lot of these bands don't have that sort of like muddy grindcore style that Carcass had back in the 80s and 90s. So it's nice to hear those songs just kind of have totally brutal guitar tone. It's beautifully mastered. I'm not sure who did it, but Death Vomit Records put this out, and you can get this probably on Discogs for less than $5. If you're a Carcass fan, I consider this essential. Next, I've got a tribute to Celtic Frost. Celtic Frost, I don't want to spend too much time talking shit about Celtic Frost, but I don't get what the big deal is about Celtic Frost. But I bought this in a used bin. It's got Morgion on it, Enslaved, Slaughter doing Dethroned Emperor. Now, I don't know, is that the Canadian Slaughter, the Strapato Slaughter? I don't actually know. I don't listen to this very often. But Mayhem doing Visual Aggression, Inner Thought, Sadistic Intent, Cyanide, Divine Eve, Grave, Opeth, Close Down, and Emperor doing Massacra and 13. Pretty good lineup for a tribute that I bet any Celtic Frost fan would like. By the way, this was put out by Dwell Records. Dwell Records is a record label who I think of only putting out tribute albums, it seems. But I went in and did some looking, and they did do some proper releases of albums like, what are they called? Never mind, it doesn't matter. But they put out like tributes to Morbid Angel, Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, Dio, a lot of bigger name kind of stuff that I don't have copies of. But Dwell Records is kind of a good starting point if you're looking to find what other kind of tribute albums there are out there. Next, this is another good one. I feel like it's pretty much on par with the Carcass and the Bathory one. Tribute to Darkthrone. I don't think I could compile a better list of bands to put together a tribute to Darkthrone. And of course it was put out by Moonfog. I feel like everything about this tribute just came together so perfectly. It plays through so fucking well. We've got Satyricon doing Catharian Life Code, Enslaved with Natasha in Eternal Sleep, Thorns, Pagan Winter, Emperor doing Chromlech, fucking great cover. Dothemsgard doing Green Cave Float, fucking rules. Gehenna with Transylvanian Hunger, I really love that one. Gorgoroth doing Slidet Idet Fierna from Transylvanian Hunger. And Immortals to Walk the Infernal Fields, that fucking cover to end it all is perfect. Can't recommend this fucking thing enough. Next is a tribute to Iltjarn. Pestilence Records put this out, I don't know, a while ago. We've got Grimfog, Zasther doing 2 covers. Funny thing about this one is each band does 2 songs, and I think that's kind of a cool idea. There's 22 tracks on it. Iltjarn famously has really slow, kind of punkish black metal songs. Grimfog, Zasther, Nocmistium, Leviathan doing Dark December, Nocturnal Gathering, Obscure, Forgotten Tomb, Hat, Urfost doing Iltjarn, Orcrist, Azagal, Volcura, and Excrucio. I don't play this very often. I had a really big phase of Iltjarn back in the day. I should probably listen to this more often than I do. Next, a tribute to Judas Iscariot. ISO 666 put this out. Again, we've got Zasther, Eternity of Darkness, Frost Moon Eclipse, Sign of Katumarus. I don't know a lot of these bands. Again, Nocmistium, Arkenstone, Krieg, Merrimack, Dead to Earth, The Black Death, Carving to Nenia, and Leviathan and Birkenau, a couple other ones. But this is pretty good. I remember liking this, and is it a, no, single CD, but 14 tracks, total playing time of 76 minutes. Plenty of Judas Iscariot. Next, we got a tribute to Creator. Full Moon put this out. We got Black Witchery, Chrysian, Sentinex, Angel Corpse, Mystifier, Acheron, Pessimist, killer fucking tribute. I'm sure there's copies of this are probably easy to come by. Next is sort of an infamous tribute, but not really a tribute. I don't really know what the intent of this thing was to be, but this is Nordic Metals, a tribute to Euronymous. And a lot of the songs on here are covers of Mayhem songs by Norwegian and Swedish black metal bands. This came out on Necropolis back in the 90s, soon after Euronymous was dispatched by Grishnak. I don't know. I guess I'm not going to go through the whole lineup here, but a lot of you should be familiar with this thing. I just always thought it was weird how there was like covers and not covers, exclusive content. Just kind of seemed like it was kind of hastily thrown together. But in lieu of that being a perfect tribute, I think this is a really fucking near perfect tribute done by Dwell Records, who I mentioned a minute ago. So check this out. Immortal, Dark Funeral, Vader doing Freezing Moon, awesome. Emperor doing Funeral Fog, Behemoth, Limbonic Art, Keep of Kalesin, Gorgoroth, Carpathian Forest, Seth, Gehenna, and Absu. Absu does Death Crush, fucking slays. This came out actually kind of fairly recently, I want to say within the last 5 or 6 years or so. Dwell Records, tribute to Mayhem. Originators of Northern Darkness is what it's called. I feel like this didn't get enough attention at the time. Next, we've got kind of a weird one. This is a tribute to Metallica, a band I never really listened to, but I got this because it was on Black Sun Records, and it has a lot of Swedish bands on it, as you would know with a Black Sun release. Dark Tranquility, In Flames, Crystal Age, Afflicted, Ceremonial Oath, Pagandom, and Snot Rocket doing Escape. Snot Rocket was a short-lived band featuring Thomas Lidberg from At the Gates on vocals. Miscreant, Luciferion, Sarcasm. If you're a Metallica fan and a fan of like Swedish blackened death metal, this is really great. Next, this is probably my least favorite in all of these, but it's worth bringing out. This is Rotting Christ with a 2 CD cover, or tribute. Whoa! I forgot. It's a fucking double CD, but there's... My cat's going ape shit over here. I need to get a double CD case for this thing because they just set the CDs in there. Anyways, not a lot of well-known bands on here, but I got it just because Obsequiae was on here, and I'm a die-hard Obsequiae fan. I love you guys. Anyway, I'll run through this quickly. It's kind of hard to read. House of Atreus, Nechochwin, Nefas, and Obsequiae. are the standouts on there. Next, they're going to tribute to Sepultura. Now, this is also put out by Black Sun Records and licensed by Century Media. Pretty good lineup on here. I don't really listen to this very often, but we've got Gardenian, Lord Belial, Dimension Zero, Swordmaster, Death Witch, Sacramentum, Defleshed, Children of Bottom, The Crown. Those are pretty much the good ones on here. Kind of worth picking up. I can't believe somebody fucking covered Rata Mahata. Whatever. I see Sepultura is touring right now with their Roots album. Like, I can't believe anybody thinks that's an album worth remembering or playing again or doing an anniversary tour or two. Whatever, man. Next, tribute to Slayer, of course. Also by Dwell Records. We've got Dark Funeral, Monstrosity, Sadistic Intent, Aurora Borealis, Draconis, Killer Band, Evil Incarnate, Coffin Texts, Imprecation. Not the best lineup on here, but there are a couple of great versions. I'll tell you what, though, there's a tribute to Slayer called Slatanic Slaughter. I want to say Black Sun put those out too. There was 2 editions to it. Fucking awesome. I don't have a copy of it. I totally should, I guess. I have it on my Discogs wish list as far as I can remember. But the last one that I have is the tribute to Summoning. I did a review of this maybe a month or 2 ago. Fucking awesome. This just exemplifies everything that can go right about a tribute album. It's beautiful. So many great bands on here. Just can't recommend this enough. So that's the tribute albums that I have. Next, I wanted to talk about... Okay, actually, there's 2 that I have that aren't on CD. There's this label called Aspherical Asphyxia. Pulled a Wyatt there for a second. And they have put out 2, maybe 3 tribute albums, 2 of them that I have. But the thing is, they only put them out in MP3 format. No CDs, no LPs or anything. But I do have 2 of them. The thing is, I prefer having a tribute album on a CD or an LP rather than MP3s, because when you have a tribute album on MP3 and you load it up into whatever you're using to play your MP3s on, I use Music B, it tends to sort them out by artist, and so your tribute album just gets blown apart into tons of different things and you can't find it. And then you have to go in and make a playlist of each track and make sure the track order is correct. It's just a fucking nightmare. It's so much harder than just popping a CD in and enjoying it, you know. So the idea of a digital-only tribute album is kind of fucked to me. However, 2 of them that I do like. One of them is called Old Crown, New Spawn, which is a tribute to Emperor, Arcturus, and Vedboin Zend. Also, they did a tribute to Ulver. As far as I know, these are the only tributes to Ulver, Arcturus, and Vedboin Zend. So that's Aspherical Asphyxia Productions who have put those out. I'll put links to all this stuff, as I do every video, down below in the description, which you will click whenever you need to know anything about anything I talk about in my videos. Anyways, so I thought another cool topic would be bands that don't have tributes that need tributes. I did some looking. I could have done this all fucking night, but I decided to cut myself off after a little while. I didn't want this video to be too fucking long. But here's something to consider. Why doesn't this band have a tribute album, and who would you love to hear covering which song by any of these bands? First one off the top of my head was Suffocation. I would love to see or hear a tribute to Suffocation. Now, obviously, a lot of these bands are going to be bands that were so fucking talented at playing the instruments that not many people are going to be able to touch their level of skill in covering their songs. So that's something to consider in asking why hasn't there been a tribute album of these bands. Suffocation would not be an easy band to cover, especially that shit from like Pierced from Within or whatever, Souls to Deny songs. I don't know. I wouldn't attempt it myself, but I gotta think something like, you know, Dying Fetus, Psychroptic. I would love to hear them cover Suffocation songs. Next, Dissection. What the fuck, guys? Why haven't we had a tribute to Dissection? Amazing songs, easy to cover. I got to see Watain covering a Dissection song in Chicago one time. It was fucking great. So I just don't know. Why isn't there a tribute to Dissection? Let's get it happening. Next, Bolt Thrower. Why isn't there a tribute to Bolt Thrower? Some of these I did some, like I said, I did some research on Discogs and I typed in tribute to whatever, and there's some of them that are just like not quite official. Something that was like, a couple of these were limited to like 100 or so copies or something. So like when I say this, I mean a real proper tribute album like these, something that's readily available, has, you know, a good amount of good bands on them. But Bolt Thrower, why isn't there a fucking tribute to Bolt Thrower? In fact, I don't even know if I've ever heard a tribute to Bolt Thrower. No, I'm sorry. I don't know if I've ever heard a cover of Bolt Thrower. Anyways, next, so this would be kind of weird, but how about Primordial? Band's been around forever. They've got tons of great albums. I think the reason probably is that not a lot of bands sing clean vocals like Primordial does. I don't think there's anybody out there that can sing as well as Nathan Gianga from Primordial. But I don't know. Have you ever heard a Primordial cover? I can't really say that I have. Next, okay, Terrorizer. They had one good album, but it was a fucking genre-creating album. Wouldn't that be great just to hear, like, someone take World Downfall and just cover every single song off of it by different bands? I think that would be amazing. Next, how about Dark Angel? Darkness Descends, Time Does Not Heal. Tons of great songs to cover, tons of material out there. As far as I've seen, there isn't one. How about it? Next, okay, this is probably the biggest what the fuck there is. But there's two exceptions. Okay, I'll just say it. Death. A tribute to Death. Every fucking band that I've ever talked about on this channel probably influenced by Death somehow or another. But there is not a good enough tribute to Death. Dwell Records put one, maybe two out. I did a little bit of research and I found two tributes to Death, but they're pathetic. The lineups are nothing to even write home about. I'm sorry, but that's just what I saw. The biggest name that I saw on a tribute to Death was Pessimist. Now, I doubt most of you have ever heard of Pessimist. Killer band, but I don't know. Of all the bands that you can think of that have been influenced and had their lives touched by the wonderful music of Death, and how sadly Chuck Schuldiner is fucking gone from this world, let's get a fucking tribute to Death together. I'm sick of all these fucking reissues. Let's do a tribute to fucking Death. Okay, next, Immortal. I found a few extremely limited tributes to Immortal, but I don't know. They're a huge band. They've been around forever. I feel like a lot of bands have been directly influenced by Immortal. Let's get it happening. Next one I've got is Burzum. Okay, so there have been a lot of tributes to Burzum, but there are a couple of factors making it so that I feel like they aren't really legitimate or good enough tributes to Burzum. A lot of them are they attract Nazi NS bands, and it just takes one to spoil the whole fucking bunch. So I feel like there's been a couple of attempts at them, but I imagine most people would look down the list of bands on a tribute to Burzum and see, it seems like a couple of them I saw, their band names end in 88, something like that. You know, they've got that just look to them where they're just sketchy as fuck tributes and nobody wants to touch them and they got AIDS. So that really is hindering a tribute to Burzum. I don't know. I think we've got to be able to pull together a list, a tribute to Burzum that isn't sketchy as fuck, but whatever. Not really a lot of my territory to cover. Next, Absu. How about it? Amazing fucking band. I think a couple of bands have covered Absu, but I would really love to hear a lot of like the best metal bands we have to offer covering Absu. That'd be great. Next one, kind of a so-so, maybe Druk, if that's how you pronounce it right. They've been around for a long time. They've got a ton of output. Most of their albums are really good. I feel like they've influenced a whole ton of black metal bands that are kind of woodsy inspired, post-black metal, pagan kind of stuff, forest worshipping kind of black metal bands. I think a tribute to Druk could really go well if the bands chosen were just right. Next one, I don't know, this is kind of another maybe, Acheron. Killer death metal band. They've been around forever. I feel like the quality of their output has been pretty on par. A nice level of quality from those guys. So, yeah, how about it? Acheron. Next one, and last one in this category, is Beherit. Influenced a shitload of bands. I don't see why there isn't a proper tribute to Beherit. I found a couple of little, you know, limited like no-name band tributes to Beherit. But I mean, wouldn't you like to hear like Revenge covering Beherit? I feel like that's like a strong influence to Revenge, Conqueror, stuff like that. How about it? So the last category that I have is good tributes that are already out there that I don't own that maybe you should check out. So like I said, Slatanic Slaughter was a good one. There were 2 editions of it. Let me pull this up real quick. Alright, so the track list on Slatanic Slaughter are as follows. Dissection with Antichrist, fucking one of my favorite covers of all time. Hypocrisy doing Black Magic. Merciless, Cryonics, At the Gates, Captor of Sin. That fucking cover slays me every time. Enslaved doing Jesus Saves. Invocator with Altar of Sacrifice. Edge of Sanity doing Criminally Insane. God, I can't believe I'm reading this and I don't own a copy of this. It's fucking stupid. Seance doing Postmortem. Cemetery, Crown of Thorns, and Grope. I'm not familiar with Grope. So that's part 1. Part 2, we got Necrophobic, Luciferion, Cradle of Filth doing Hell Awaits. That's kind of weird. Sinister, Benediction, Liar Awaits, Coffin Man, and Malevolent Creation doing Raining Blood. Awesome. Vader, Anathema, Unanimated, and Disaffected. I really need to pick these up. So those are a couple that I don't own copies of. Next, so there's 2 tributes to Morbid Angel, and I think they're awesome. They're called Tyrants from the Abyss and Scream Forth Blasphemy. Scream Forth Blasphemy has Centurion, Angel Corpse, Diabolic, Mystifier, Draconis, Black Witchery, The Chasm, Aurora Borealis, and Ex Mortis, to name a few. And then the other one, Tyrants from the Abyss, has Zyklon, Luciferion, Vader doing Immortal Rites, Infernal, Angel Corpse, Soul Reaper, Centurion, Excommunion doing God of Emptiness. Excommunion is pre-Nightbringer death metal band, killer fucking band. Diabolic, Divine Rapture, Chrysian doing Unholy Blasphemies. Both of those tributes, I don't know why I don't have them, but they're killer. Next one, so I did some looking around on a couple of these. There's one called Icon of E, a tribute to Emperor. It looks pretty alright. The 2 bands that stood out for me were Cythereal doing Inno wa Satana and Horna doing Wrath of the Tyrant. Sounds pretty good. The next one is the 7 Gates of Horror, tribute to Possessed, you guessed it. With Sadistic Intent, Angel Corpse, Vader, Sinister, and Krabathor. That sounds pretty good. I've heard the Angel Corpse cover on there, obviously. The next one that I don't have is something that Eric Bauer covered in, I don't know, November of last year or so, but totally interesting release, and I probably should pick it up. But if you're not familiar with the album, it's Cold Meat Industry. They put out this album, this compilation album called Absolute Supper. This is like a really nerdy thing, but Absolute Supper was just like a genre-defining sampler that came out at just the right time. Cold Meat Industry was just a phenomenal label that just seemed to have all the right bands at all the right time, and just like a snapshot of that genre of music at the perfect time. So what this is a tribute to Cold Meat, and there's 6 death metal bands doing covers of particular tracks on that tribute album. I'll put a link in the description down below to it. Check out Eric's video about it. It's fucking awesome. I bought the download of it, I guess, but I wouldn't mind picking up a CD or maybe an LP copy of it. Next, we've got kind of a weird one. This is a tribute to Vindir, or Windir. So what they did was they put out this posthumous release where they had a couple of unreleased Vindir tracks, a couple of re-recorded Vindir tracks, and then 5 or 6 covers of other Vindir tracks. And then there's a second disc that's just kind of like a best of Vindir. I don't really agree with the whole setup of the whole thing. It's just kind of fucked up and weird. Like, what do you categorize that as? Anyways, Vindir is a really awesome band, and the best thing on there is Enslaved. And lastly, man, I can't believe I don't own copies of this also, but Keepers of Jericho, a tribute to Halloween. Also a 2-parter. So, you know this is going to be a complete fucking nerdy power metal fest, but bathe in it if it's your thing. Helloween is one of my absolute favorite fucking bands. The Keeper of the Seven Keys 1 and 2, amazing fucking albums. So here we go. We got Rhapsody doing Guardians, Sonata Arctica doing I Want Out, awesome. Luca Turilli doing I'm Alive. That cover is fucking phenomenal. Brainstorm. No, I'm not the biggest power metal fan, so I don't know a lot of these bands. My favorites really are like Luca Turilli, Sonata Arctica, and Lost Horizon. I don't think Lost Horizon is on here. We got Squealer doing Victim of Fate. The fuck is Squealer? Dark Moor, Secret Sphere. Not familiar with a lot of these. On the second one, the tribute to Helloween, we've got Iron Savior, Steel Attack, Power Gods, Celesti, Paragon. I'm not familiar with any of these fucking bands. High Lord. But best I remember, I downloaded these years and years and years ago, and I never got around to buying copies of them. But surprisingly, most of the bands do a really awesome job of covering Helloween songs. Mainly what I would be worried about in hearing a Helloween cover is the vocals being suitable, listenable, and, you know, worthy. And I remember thinking that was surprisingly like the selling point on both of these tributes. So I should probably pick up copies of these anyways to further fill out my collection shelves. But that brings us to the end of my tribute album video. I hope you liked it. Let me know what bands you think are missing from the list of bands that need tributes. What are your favorite tributes that I didn't cover? What are your favorite covers? Just let me know in the comments, and we'll keep the discussion going. All right, thanks for joining me. And if you haven't subscribed yet, what the fuck, man? Come on. It's just a little button down there, and you're not going to miss any of my amazing content. Come on. Anyway, we'll see you next time.